viewers, welcome to my channel, Court.is.Claire. If you are a new viewer, hey there, hey, welcome to my channel. If you enjoyed this video, please don't forget to like and subscribe. If you are an oldie but a goodie, a returning viewer, hey girl, hey boy, hey, what's good? You know, if I have on these blue scrubs, that is a nurse related video. So today we're going to be talking about utilization review, and I talked about this before in a previous video called Why I Left Nursing. So you need to go ahead and hit pause if you have not watched that video. If you have not watched that video, check my description box. There'll be a link. Go on and watch that, and then come on back, and then we'll continue the thing through. And if you have seen it already, go ahead and keep on watching. I talk about utilization review in that video, and I just got a lot of questions, concerns, and just I felt like it would be good for me to provide my wealth of knowledge, if you can call it that, my wealth of knowledge in regards to utilization review, because I know when I searched going into this specialty, it wasn't a lot of information. So yeah, if you're interested, honey, if you're thinking about leaving the bedside and want to know your options, you're just interested in the specialty, you heard about it, didn't really know what that means, or if you just want to be plain on nosy, honey, and get the nurse tea, go ahead and stay tuned. Don't forget to hit like and subscribe. Okay, so there are two sides to utilization review. There's the payer side, which is the insurance, and there's the provider side, which is the hospital. And I can only provide you information or my perspective from the hospital side because I've only worked in the hospital setting as a utilization review nurse. So what is utilization review? Well, utilization review is a subset of case management. And basically what we do is we review charts for the appropriate utilization of hospital services. And this basically boils down to levels of care. Inpatient observation. I know if you're doing your chart checks and you're checking all your orders like we always talk about, you will see a status order, observation, and inpatient. These are levels of care. These levels of care are important to the hospital because it determines the amount of money, or it determines, the amount of funding that comes back in reimbursement from the payer. This is important from the payer side because it determines how much money that they have to give to the hospital. So levels of care are very important, especially if your patient does not have a level of care, or the patient is not in the appropriate level of care. This can result in a denial of payment, or it can result in a lack of payment, or it could result in a full reimbursement. So this is important because it is the money of the hospital. So utilization review is like this whole facet that is behind the scenes. It's kind of like having a watch. You know, child, way back in the day when people used to buy them watches off of Canal Street, and honey, them things wouldn't last past like 2 weeks, 2 months if you're doing good, because the inside wasn't good. Well, the same thing is the jewels, honey. Let's be clear, because I know about watches. Let me stop. But the inside of the watch isn't good. So that's the same thing with utilization review. We are the background of the hospital, but if we are not working efficiently and proficiently, then the hospital does not receive the money that it needs to operate and make sure that it is providing efficient, safe care, because the money goes back into jobs, equipment, supplies, yada yada yada. So how do we determine appropriate levels of care? Well, there are two national regarded guidelines, and that is Milliman, or it can be called MCG, and Interqual. These are nationally renowned, like nationally known, and we all kind of use them as guidelines. I say guidelines because it's not definitive. Sometimes you have patients that don't meet the subsets that are provided, and these patients are reviewed from a medical necessity perspective. Now, depending on your facility, medical necessity can be decided by a physician, if you have a physician advisor, or it can be decided by the nurse using her clinical judgment. This is why a lot of hospitals are having a push to hire registered nurses in this role, because second to physicians, we have the highest level of clinical judgment, so to speak. No tea, no shade. Okay? So, I know some of you asked about training. Well, the only way I know that you can get training, especially with these systems, is through on-the-job training. That's how I got trained, and once I was on the job, then I got more in-depth training from the actual providers, Milliman and Interqual. And also I got questions about experience. So that goes back to the clinical judgment part. That's why they need nurses for this. They need nurses for utilization review, because we use our clinical judgment when the systems the medical necessity cannot be defined through the system, the guidelines. So if you don't have much clinical experience to go on, I'm not quite sure how much of a service will you be, or a good service, or how much of a benefit you will be in this role. But that does not mean that you cannot do utilization review. I just think it depends on the employer. Okay, a lot of times utilization review gets confused with CDI, clinical documentation improvement, and nursing informatics. I had to look at my little notes, y'all, sorry. Nursing informatics. So let me just explain the little bit that I do know about these specialties. And if you are a CDI nurse, or you're a nursing informatics nurse that's actually in practice, go ahead and drop some comments, give me some information, because actually I would like to know more about those specialties myself. But from what I do know, clinical documentation improvement. So utilization review nurses, we ensure that appropriateness for levels of care, so that we can get, the hospital can get reimbursement. Clinical documentation improvement, they come in and they make sure the physician's documentation aligns with the billing and coding, so that way when it's time to actually submit the information on the back end to these payers, insurances, the documentation lines up and the coding lines up. So that's just another technical side of things, and like I said, that's all I kind of know about that. I'm not an expert in that area. However, I've also heard about nursing informatics, and from what I understand, it's using nursing to integrate in technology and in biomedical equipment to ensure that we are giving safe patient care, along with the efficiency of nursing's charting. So they use a lot of nursing informatic nurses to help build these systems, like your Epics and your Citrix. Excuse me, Epic and Cerner, to ensure, and I know both the systems too. Where am I head today? Epic and Cerner, to ensure that they these EMRs are efficient for nurses and nurse interaction. So that's where kind of nurse informatics comes into play. Okay, some more information about utilization review is that, generally speaking, this role is salaried. Okay, so honey, if you are one of those nurses who like to get to the getting and get your little 12-hour shifts, 6 days a week type thing, and you like your overtime, this might not be the lane for you, because generally speaking, they don't really give overtime. You may get a bonus shift, or you may get time and a half on your holidays, but as far as like racking up the extra days and extra pay, this might not be your ministry, sis. And also shift hours. So I work 4 10-hour shifts. Some of my colleagues work 5/8, and I even know some utilization review nurses who do 3/12s, but they are generally in the ED setting. Interactions. So if you are a nurse who absolutely loves patient care, and that's what you want to do, you don't want, you love your patients, as we all do, but you just want to be hands-on all the time, utilization review may not be the lane for you, because we have slim to none patient interaction. Like really slim to none. In my last position, it was slim. Right now, I have none. And the most interaction that I have is with doctors, case managers, and insurances. And another perk with this role is that some of us can work from home. Like I work from home from time to time, or generally speaking, I kind of do a maybe like 75% in the office and 25% at home. Like the option is there to work from home, so that helps. That's appealing to a lot of people. Well, I hope I answered some of your questions, or most of your questions. If you have any more, go ahead and drop them in my comment box below. And please remember that I love you, but God, He loves you so much more. God bless you.